Number 4, Derrick Martin on Michael Jordan. In November 1995, during their expansion season, the Vancouver Grizzlies were playing the later to be known as 72-win Chicago Bulls and actually holding their own. Michael Jordan in particular was having an off night, as he had only 10 points through 3.5 quarters, and so guard Derrick Martin from the Grizzlies would yell from the bench, "Hey Mike, it's not falling tonight, huh? You're having an off night, Mike." As you can probably guess, that was a mistake. The Grizzlies led by 2 at the start of the 4th quarter, with Jordan sitting at the end of the 3rd and the start of the 4th, which gave Derrick Martin another chance to talk trash, as after hitting a jumper to add to the Grizzlies' lead, Martin ran past the Bulls bench and yelled in the direction of Jordan, "I told you we were going to beat you tonight." Now, this might not seem like the craziest trash talk in the world, but you have to remember, at this point in time, nobody said anything to Michael Jordan. They knew that if they did, they'd be poking the bear, and that's exactly what Derrick Martin did. Usually, Jordan wouldn't even acknowledge someone like Derrick Martin on an expansion team, but the Grizzlies did have the lead going in the 4th, and the Vancouver fans were going crazy, so Michael Jordan had to step up. After this second round of trash talk, Mike immediately checked himself in, went directly up to Martin, and said, "Little man, I told you not to trash talk me." Jordan then imposed his will on the Grizzlies and scored 19 of his 29 points in the second half of the 4th quarter. Of course, the Bulls would also win this game, with Michael Jordan finishing with a game-winning steal with 30 seconds left. Again, do not poke the bear. But before we continue, guys, I do want to say thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. And if somehow you don't know what SeatGeek is, it's an app that takes all of the best ticket prices from around the internet and puts them all in one place so you can get the best deal. Plus, it's so easy to see what the best deals are because SeatGeek scores every single ticket from 1 to 10 based on how good that ticket's price is. And if that wasn't enough, SeatGeek also shows you the view from whatever ticket you're looking to buy. Basically, a preview of the experience you're going to have. I think that's awesome. I think SeatGeek in general is awesome, and right now, if you use the promo code 2KMike, you'll get $20 off your first order. The link to SeatGeek will be in the description, or just use promo code 2KMike, and let's continue with the video. Number 3, DeMarcus Cousins on Tim Duncan. Back at the start of his 3rd season, a young DeMarcus Cousins was known for his physical play, his competitiveness, and his sometimes lack of common sense, because on November 9th, 2012, towards the end of the game, Boogie was actually dominating Tim Duncan in the post and made the mistake of letting it be known with countless celebrations after big baskets. He also had some choice words for Tim Duncan along the lines of, "You can't guard me," and "Why are you even on this court?" which of course were words that were a complete mistake to say to Tim Duncan. At the time, people knew just not to talk trash to Tim Duncan. Draymond Green, when describing trash talking Tim Duncan, has even said, 1, he is not going to talk back because he has no respect for me, or 2, he's not going to talk back because that's just who he is, or 3, both. I figured then that was the last time I was going to talk junk to Tim, and that was the last time. The reason for this was that Tim would not use his energy to talk trash back to other players. Instead, he would take that energy and get even, which is what happened after DeMarcus Cousins' last field goal with around 6 minutes left in the 4th quarter. With this basket, Boogie pumped his arms and yelled, "I'ma bust his ass." Reckless words for a 3rd-year player to Tim Duncan. But again, Tim did not say anything back. He just smiled and took action. Sean Elliott, a Spurs broadcaster, would explain it best, saying, "You think you're dominating Tim, and you get it stuffed right back in your face." Timmy doesn't like to talk trash, but if guys start talking mess to him, he's going to respond. And that's exactly what Tim Duncan did on this night. The very next shot DeMarcus Cousins put up, Tim Duncan blocked it, and then on the other end, Tim would score 3 key baskets with ease as he led the Spurs to an 11-point victory over the Kings. Which just goes to show that if you're a young player in the NBA, you might want to shut your mouth. The Kings could have won this game, but after DeMarcus started talking trash, Tim would finish with 23 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a Spurs win. Number 2. Xavier McDaniel on Larry Bird. Sometimes the act of trash talking isn't even necessary to put a star player in the zone. Sometimes all a role player needs to do is respond to trash talk. That was certainly the case in Larry Bird versus Xavier McDaniel. Now, Larry himself would say, "I get a charge when I tell someone on the opposing team that I'm gonna hit the last second shot, then do it." So apparently he made a habit of doing this. The most famous instance of this again came against McDaniel, as on December 30th, 1986, the Celtics were playing the Sonics when the game was tied late. It was at this point that when headed into a timeout, Larry Bird looked at McDaniel and said, "I'm getting the ball." To which McDaniel replied, "I know, I'm gonna be right here waiting." This is what I was talking about when I said that sometimes all role players need to do to anger star players is just respond to their trash talk. The fact that mere mortal Xavier McDaniel even responded to Larry Bird was all that it would take, as when walking back onto the court, a Bird would say to McDaniel, "I'ma get it right here, I'ma shoot it in your face." As he was saying this, Larry was pointing to a spot on the elbow, and when the game continued, not only would he get that ball at the spot at the elbow, not only would he shoot over McDaniel, but he also shot over another Seattle Supersonic. That wouldn't matter though, because of course Larry Legend drained the shot over two guys and won the Boston Celtics the game, proving yet again that he was one of the greatest trash talkers the NBA has ever seen. And number one, Shaquille O'Neal on Yao Ming. In 2002, Shaq was by far the best center in the league and was coming off his third straight NBA championship. He was seen as untouchable, but everyone also knows how goofy Shaq can be. I mean, this is a man who's given himself around 200 nicknames, he's starred in movies, he's constantly harassed Charles Barkley on TNT since he's joined there. We know Shaq loves to mess around, but there have been times where he's gone just way too far. And one of the worst instances of this was when asked about then number one pick Yao Ming, who many were claiming was going to be a Shaq stopper. Shaq decided to explain on live TV that he would embarrass Yao on the court, then added, "Tell Yao Ming, Ching Chong Yang Wa Ah So." While he said this, he also started to perform kung fu moves with a big smile on his face, and yeah, this just didn't look great. It was obviously racist and disrespectful, no matter how Shaq meant it. Shaq would later say about the incident, "I said it jokingly, so this guy," referring to the reporter, "was just trying to stir something up that's not there. He's just somebody who doesn't have a sense of humor like I do." But again, these jokes had clearly crossed the line, and so leading up to the first matchup between Shaq and Yao Ming, the media was ready for some fireworks. Nobody was sure how these two players were going to react, but it turns out that Yao might have been holding a grudge at this time, because when taking the court against Shaq, Yao looked like a man possessed. He would block all three of Shaq's first three shots and would finish the night by leading the Rockets to a 4-point win over the Lakers. A fitting end to this story because Shaq, come on, if that was a joke, it still sounds horrible.